drops away, there's a whole different story.
The moguls are standing out there in front of you, and you can see that these moguls are telling you, okay,
John, this is it. I'm here. You're gonna have to face me. You're gonna have to challenge
me. You're gonna have to play with me, or I'm gonna get the best of you. I have to respond to that hit.
When you're boogieing, you need all the edge control you can get. You get it.
The 505's extra large wraparound heel and toe piece cups keep you and your ski edges in intimate contact with each other. Not every skier is in Clendenin's class. Because there are so many different kinds of skiers, there are so many different kinds of Salomon bindings.
If you're a good non-competitive skier, you'd probably be looking for 505 performance characteristics combined
with lower release values and an extra margin of safety, so you'd probably want the Salomon 502. If you're a good weekend skier, the Salomon 444 gives you the best combination of convenience
and safety features of any binding in the medium price range. It also gives you many of the 505 performance features.
The leash system makes it easy to step out. You can even have snow packed under your boot without affecting your release setting.
Everybody
has to begin somewhere, and this usually involves getting in and out several times in one day. The 202 and 101 for skiers under 12 years old are good, safe, simple bindings with many unique features beginners need at an economy price. He may not look like the national freestyle champion now, but give him a few years.
Having a great run down a mountain on any day is a victory. It's an exciting experience. You have to
ski strong, but you have to play at the same time. You have to be right
on top of the
hill. You have to be right on top of the situation.
Having a successful run down the mountain is like making a small victory. It's a victory in itself, just to be able to make it down the mountain and know that you've won. And in a small way, you get that same feeling every time you have a good freestyle run, anytime you're free skiing. It's like you've won. You've had a great run, you know the hill appreciates it, your whole body appreciates it, and you can feel the whole elation and the whole experience. The essence of freestyle skiing and the true challenge comes when every time you face a new run, you face a totally unique situation
Each run demands new and different things from
from you, and you have to try to feel your way down it. The way I feel is when you're hot,
hot. And when it comes on, it comes on. What I try to do is to
let it happen. When I'm free skiing,
the competitive moments come when the hill challenges you.
you're always responding to the
Hill, you're trying to feel the hill out.
The more challenging you run, the more responses and moods it gets out of you.
For a mogul, there's an amazing degree of torque in your skis. You can feel the compression as you go. This is a situation.
When your ski flexes in a bent-up position like this, the space between your binding closes up, which could easily cause the binding to release. The Salomon 505 heel piece compensates for this pressure by moving back, fully absorbing it, like this. By reacting to a flexed ski, the 505 keeps you from being forced out of your binding, and it prevents premature release better than any competitive binding made today. Now, for every
Reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And every time your ski bends up, it also bends down. A bent down ski is called a counterflex ski. And in counterflex, the space between your bindings opens up. There has to be pressure to keep your binding together, or else you walk out. Here you can
see the 505 heel piece reacting, compensating for this absence of pressure by moving forward and pushing your boot firmly into the toe piece, faster and with more pressure than any other binding.
That's when you're really experiencing freestyle skiing. Is when you're springing free off a mogul, and then you recover to
Get back together again as soon as you can, and then you spring free off it again. Whenever you're free skiing, you're always in constant variable. Your weight's always shifting. There's nothing constant
about it. Yeah, you can go flying off a bump and find yourself extremely forward sometimes. And that's the most awkward situation.
out here. The problem is
When a skier returns to the snow from an airborne flight, and especially when his weight is too far forward, he exerts an enormous amount of pulling force upward on the heel piece.
upon tip contact with the snow, the heel piece must absorb this force without releasing. Here you see how the
505 reacts to the problem. This shock-absorbing capability is called vertical elasticity. And because the release point is not affected by this vertical elasticity, there's no possibility of premature release in this position.
But when you need to release, the 505
Like any good binding, will let you out.
The whole idea of freestyle is that you're not
limited.
When I have a
Good run.
When I know that I feel really good, I can feel a subtlety in my feet. My ability to really have a fine sense of the snow with my edges. It's called edge control ultimately, and when you're really feeling strong and good in
Here's another
a run.
situation. In hard pack or icy situations, you can feel your skis chattering as they absorb vibration along their length. The real problem here is the force transmitted against the sides of the skis as they hit rut after rut after rut. That force is called shock, and that's where the 505 toe piece comes in. Because it has two pivot points that work as part of a unique double roller bearing system with a precisely controlled elastic run as shown here, it can move back and forth fast enough to absorb each shock and center your boot in time for the next one. That's how the 505 prevents premature release from shocking out better than any competitive binding made today. But when you have to release, of course you do.
Any one run you look at that feels
Exceptionally good is when you've had that great subtle feeling in your feet. You have a total rapport between your feet and the snow, between your edges and the snow.
The hill has a lot to do with
How you ski. I have to respond
to the way the hill is telling me to ski. When it's a nice
soft, smooth slope. You can
respond by skiing nice